Welcome to our channel, where we explore some of the most fascinating coins in U.S. history. Today, we're shining a spotlight on ultra-rare Lincoln Memorial pennies, coins that look ordinary but hold extraordinary stories and value. Let's begin with the 1974 D penny, a small coin that many people have come across, but few take a closer look at. At first glance, there's nothing unusual about it. It's a Lincoln cent, copper in color, with Abraham Lincoln on one side and the Lincoln Memorial on the other. The D mint mark below the date tells us it was struck at the Denver Mint. Most people have used this coin without thinking twice, spent it, stored it, or tossed it in a jar. But for collectors, even common coins can hold interest, especially when they're preserved in top condition. The 1974 D penny is one of those coins. While billions were produced, only a small number survive in high grades. That's where collector value begins. The design wasn't new in 1974. Lincoln's portrait had been on the cent since 1909, created by Victor D. Brenner, and the reverse design, showing the Lincoln Memorial, had been used since 1959, designed by Frank Gasparo. Both sides of the coin reflect a long-running tradition in U.S. coinage, making the Lincoln cent one of the most recognized coins in American history. The coin's metal composition was also standard for the time, 95% copper and 5% zinc. It wasn't until 1982 that the U.S. Mint shifted to a predominantly zinc composition due to rising copper prices. So the 1974 D penny still holds that classic copper look and feel that many collectors prefer. There are no major errors or rare varieties tied to this specific year and mint. So the main factor that influences value is condition. Most circulated 1974 D pennies are worth 1 to 5 cents. In better condition, like MS 63 to MS 65, they might sell for a few dollars. Coins graded MS 67 or higher are much less common and more valuable. An MS 68 could bring in hundreds, depending on eye appeal and demand. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale used by professional grading services like PCGS and NGC. Those under MS 60 are considered circulated. Coins between MS 60 and MS 70 are uncirculated, with higher numbers showing better surface quality and sharper detail. A coin with no marks, full luster, and a strong strike might earn a top grade. Collectors look closely at the strike, luster, and color. A sharp strike means all the small details, like Lincoln's hair and the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, are clearly defined. Luster refers to how the coin reflects light, and color, specifically the red color designation, can impact value significantly. Out of the over 4 billion 1974 D pennies minted, very few remain in perfect condition. That's what makes top-graded examples desirable to collectors. Not because the coin is old or rare by date, but because it's rare in near-perfect condition. To reach a grade like MS 70, a coin must have no visible flaws, even under magnification. That level of preservation is extremely rare for any coin, especially one produced for mass circulation. Coins from bank rolls or mint sets have a slightly better chance, but even then, perfection is hard to achieve. Some collectors search sealed rolls or unsearched bags, hoping to find one of these untouched coins. If found and submitted for grading, such a coin can draw serious attention in the collecting community. It becomes more than just a cent, it becomes a highly desirable piece. Grading isn't just about condition, it's also about authentication and marketability. A coin graded and encapsulated by a reputable service is easier to sell, trade, or auction. It gives buyers confidence in what they're purchasing, and that added trust often leads to stronger market value. Price trends depend on demand and rarity at a specific grade. An MS 67 may be more affordable, while an MS 68 or MS 69 could rise significantly in value if only a few are known. Coins at the highest end often find their way into long-term collections or high-end auctions. These coins may sit in private vaults, passed between serious collectors over many years. Most 1974 D cents are ignored because they're so common. They turn up in change, in penny jars, or buried at the bottom of drawers. But when one is found in flawless condition, it becomes a standout. That's what drives value, condition, scarcity at grade, and collector demand. Some collectors specialize in Lincoln cents, building full sets that span every year and mint. And while the 1974 D may seem like a basic coin, finding it in high grade is a real challenge. Over time, these top condition coins can become highlights of personal collections. Even if the coin is otherwise common, its grade sets it apart. The rarity isn't in the mintage, it's in the survival. While most 1974 D pennies remain low in value, a top-graded example, verified at MS-70, has been valued as high as $83,000. That's right, $83,000 for a coin that, to the untrained, looks just like the rest. But when it comes to coin collecting, perfection is priceless. A flawless strike, full red luster, and untouched surfaces can elevate a simple 1-cent piece into a true investment-grade asset. So next time you come across a 1974 D penny, don't toss it aside too quickly. Take a closer look, it could be worth far more than 1 cent. Up next is the 1990 D Lincoln penny, a coin that might look modern, but under the surface, it carries its own collector story. If you've used coins in the last few decades, you've definitely come across one like this. Made at the Denver Mint, marked with the small d below the date, this penny is part of the Lincoln Memorial series that ran from 1959 to 2008. The design remained consistent for many years, and because of that, coins like the 1990 D often go unnoticed. But for collectors, that quiet familiarity is what makes certain examples stand out. By 1990, minting technology was already well developed. Quality control was better than in earlier decades. Coins from this era were made using copper-plated zinc, a composition that replaced the copper-based alloy used before 1982. That change also brought some differences in how these coins aged. The 1990 D Lincoln cent, when new, had a bright red surface and sharp detail, but those qualities often faded quickly once the coin entered circulation. Billions of these pennies were produced, and most of them saw regular use. As a result, the vast majority today show signs of wear, faded luster, small scratches, or surface spots. For this reason, most 1990 D pennies are only worth face value, or maybe a few cents to a collector looking to fill a basic spot in a folder. However, there's a small segment of 1990 D pennies that took a different path. Some were set aside the year they were minted, placed in rolls, stored in mint sets, or preserved by chance without ever entering circulation. These are the coins that have the potential to grade highly. In coin collecting, condition is everything. A well-struck 1990 D penny with original mint luster, no marks, and no discoloration stands out immediately. But even then, only a small percentage receive the highest possible grades. The grading scale runs up to 70, with grades above 67 becoming increasingly rare. The challenge with this particular coin is that even uncirculated examples often show tiny imperfections. Zinc-based planchets can react differently over time, and the copper plating is prone to spotting. That means finding a flawless 1990 D penny isn't just uncommon, it's extremely difficult. It requires careful handling from the moment the coin leaves the mint, and often a bit of luck to avoid any contact that would mar its surfaces. When a coin like this does surface in near-perfect condition, collectors take notice. It gets submitted for grading, and if it comes back at MS-69 or higher, it enters a very small group. That scarcity at the highest grade is what drives up the value, not the coin's age, and not the mintage numbers, but its condition. Collectors also value consistency. On a 1990 D penny, they look for sharp details in Lincoln's hair and jacket, clear lettering, and strong lines on the Lincoln Memorial. Even minor differences can influence the grade, and the price. Coins that exhibit a full, bright red color with no signs of toning or spotting tend to attract the most attention. In recent years, a few 1990 D Lincoln cents have reached high auction prices, but only under specific conditions. These are not coins you'd expect to find in your pocket change. They've been carefully preserved, professionally graded, and verified as being among the best-known examples for this year and mint mark. What makes the 1990D interesting is that it seems so ordinary. It's a recent coin by collector standards, and there are so many of them still around. But that's also what makes it special. Because even in a sea of billions, one coin, flawless, untouched, and perfectly struck, can rise above the rest. For most people, this coin is just a penny. For a collector, the right example is a target. And for one lucky owner, it was much more than that. Because a single 1990D Lincoln cent, graded at the highest levels of mint condition, has reached a value of $60,000. Not an error coin. Not a one-of-a-kind variation. Just the right coin, in the right condition, at the right time. This shows how powerful condition and preservation can be in coin collecting, turning even the most common coins into prized possessions. So the next time you spot a shiny, well-preserved 1990D penny, remember, it could be a hidden gem worth far more than you think. It's a reminder that value often hides in plain sight, waiting for those with the eye and patience to uncover it. Collecting isn't just about rarity, it's about recognizing quality and history. And sometimes, the most valuable treasures are the ones we least expect. So whether you're a seasoned collector or just curious, take a closer look at the coins you encounter every day. You never know when an ordinary penny might turn into an extraordinary find. Because in the world of numismatics, every coin has a story, and sometimes, the quietest ones tell the most fascinating tales. Remember, patience and a keen eye are often the collector's greatest tools. And sometimes, the smallest discoveries can bring the biggest rewards. Now let's move on to the 2001 Lincoln Memorial Penny. At first glance, this coin might look just like any other penny you've used in everyday life, a small, familiar piece of copper-colored metal with Abraham Lincoln's face on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. But as is often true with coins, there's much more to this one than what meets the eye. The 2001 penny is part of the long-running Lincoln Memorial series, which began in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. This design replaced the earlier wheat ears reverse and became a staple of American coinage for nearly 5 decades, lasting until 2008. The obverse features the classic portrait of Lincoln, originally created by Victor D. Brenner in 1909 for the centennial of Lincoln's birth, while the reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, showcases the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., a symbol of unity and history. It's interesting to note that this design was so popular that it lasted through many different historical periods, including the moon landing and the rise of the Internet. This particular coin was minted at the Denver Mint, indicated by the small d just below the date. In 2001, the Denver Mint produced over 1 billion pennies, making this coin one of the most commonly struck Lincoln cents of recent years. With numbers that large, you might assume that these coins have little value beyond their face worth, and for the most part, that's true. However, coin collecting is about more than just mintage numbers. It's about the story each coin tells and, importantly, how well that coin has survived over time. The value of any coin hinges largely on its condition. This 2001 penny, like many minted after 1982, is composed mainly of zinc with a thin copper plating, a change that came about due to the rising cost of copper. While this made pennies cheaper to produce, the copper plating is thin and prone to wear and damage once the coin enters circulation. The change in metal composition also changed how collectors view these pennies compared to earlier all-copper coins. As a result, most 2001D pennies you'll find in your pocket, in a jar, or on the street are worn and dull, showing signs of handling, discoloration, and surface marks. For those coins, the value remains around 1 cent, but for collectors, coins that have never been circulated, those that still retain their original mint luster, sharp details, and bright red color, are the real prize. These coins can vary in condition, ranging from uncirculated grades like MS-60 up to MS-70, which is considered perfect. It's also worth mentioning that grading standards have become more rigorous over the years, making a perfect grade even harder to achieve. The grading process for coins is very thorough. Professional grading services examine every surface under magnification, checking for scratches, marks, discolorations, or any defects that would lower the grade. For copper-plated zinc pennies like the 2001, the most common issues are spots, toning, and slight surface abrasions. Because of these vulnerabilities, finding a 2001 penny free of any flaws is a significant challenge. Collectors who focus on Lincoln cents often search carefully for coins in mint condition. They may purchase rolls directly from banks that have never been opened or buy mint sets sold by the U.S. Mint. Sometimes, these coins have been stored carefully for years, preserving their original qualities. Still, only a small fraction of these reach the highest grading levels, such as MS-69 or MS-70. What collectors look for in these pennies goes beyond just the absence of flaws. Sharpness of strike is important, meaning the detail in Lincoln's hair, the folds in his coat, and the fine lines of the Lincoln Memorial should be clearly visible and well-defined. The coin's color is also a factor. The bright red, or RD, designation is more desirable than brown or red-brown tones that develop with age or exposure. Over time, the market for high-grade 2001 pennies has grown. Serious collectors trying to assemble complete Lincoln cent collections want the best examples for each year. Since perfect specimens are rare, competition has driven prices upward. It's also worth noting that these coins are relatively modern. They're not ancient relics, but their value shows how important preservation is in the world of collecting. A coin doesn't have to be old to be valuable, it has to be well preserved and desirable to collectors. Today, top-grade 2001 D Lincoln pennies have been known to sell for amounts far beyond their face value. Some examples graded at the highest level, showing no imperfections and full original luster, have been valued at around $48,000. This tells us something important: even coins produced in large numbers, and from recent years, can become prized collectibles if they survive in exceptional condition. It's a testament to the dedication of collectors and the unique stories that every coin holds. So, while the average person might overlook a 2001 penny as just a single cent, in the hands of a collector, a perfect example can represent much more, a rare piece of history and a valuable item in its own right. In the last, let's take a closer look at the 2005 1-cent penny. At first glance, this coin might seem like just another ordinary penny, part of the long line of Lincoln cents that have been a staple of American currency for over a century. But as we've seen throughout today's video, even the most common-looking pennies can hold surprising value, especially when collectors pay attention to details most people tend to overlook. The 2005 penny is part of the Lincoln Memorial series, which began in 1959 and continued until 2008. This design was created to honor the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth and features his portrait on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. The Lincoln Memorial itself is a symbol of unity and justice, and its depiction on the penny connects everyday currency with American history. In 2005, the penny was produced at multiple mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Denver Mint, marked by a small d below the date, struck a large number of these coins. Overall, billions of pennies were minted that year, making the 2005 penny one of the most commonly circulated coins in recent memory. Since 1982, pennies have been made mostly of zinc with a thin copper coating. This change was introduced due to the rising cost of copper, but it also affected the coin's durability. The copper layer is quite thin, which means it can wear away over time, especially if the coin has been in circulation. As a result, many pennies lose their bright, shiny appearance and develop a dull, grayish look as the zinc core is exposed. Because of this, most 2005 pennies you encounter in your pocket, piggy bank, or loose change jar will show signs of wear. These circulated coins generally hold only their face value, and few collectors take interest in them. However, what sets some pennies apart, and what drives their collectible value, is their condition. A 2005 penny that has never been circulated can still look almost brand new. These coins retain their original red copper color and have sharp details on both the obverse and reverse. Collectors seek out such uncirculated coins for their collections. In fact, many collectors aim to build complete sets, where they have an example of every year and mint in the best possible condition. For the 2005 penny, this means finding one with no scratches, no discoloration, and fully intact details. To confirm the condition and authenticity of such coins, collectors often turn to professional grading services. These companies carefully examine every surface under magnification, looking for imperfections that could lower the grade. They assign a numerical grade from 1 to 70, with higher numbers indicating better condition. Coins graded MS60 through MS70 are considered uncirculated, but it's the top-tier grades, MS69 and MS70, that command the highest prices. Achieving these grades requires a coin to have minimal to no marks, full mint luster, and strong strike detail. The 2005 Pennies zinc core and thin copper plating make it especially challenging to reach these top grades. The copper can develop spotting, the surface can show handling marks, and even slight discolorations can affect the grade. That's why finding a 2005 penny that grades MS69 or MS70 is relatively rare. Because of this rarity, the value of a pristine 2005 penny has risen significantly. While most pennies remain worth only a few cents or less, a perfect 2005 penny can attract serious interest from collectors. Demand for these coins comes not just from hobbyists but also from investors who see them as a way to diversify their collections with modern coins that have growth potential. It's also interesting to note that coins like the 2005 penny provide a snapshot of the economic and material realities of their time. The switch to copper-plated zinc, for example, reflects efforts to balance cost with tradition, and this history adds an extra layer of interest for collectors. Today, a 2005 penny graded at the highest levels can be valued at approximately $40,000. This figure shows how much condition and rarity in terms of grading can impact a coin's worth, even one minted just a couple of decades ago. This example highlights an important point about coin collecting: age alone doesn't determine value. Condition, rarity, and demand all play crucial roles. A coin minted yesterday could someday be worth a fortune if it remains perfectly preserved. So next time you come across a penny that looks especially shiny and well-maintained, it might be worth a closer look. Even recent coins like the 2005 Lincoln penny can surprise you with their value if they have been preserved in near-perfect condition. Thank you for watching this video and joining us as we explored some of the most interesting pennies you might encounter. If you enjoyed this deep dive into coin collecting and want to see more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. Your support means a lot, and we look forward to bringing you more fascinating coin stories and collecting tips.